Welcome to Thinkers Table, the new podcast covering diverse voices and the most unique stories in deep tech. My name is Ved Lahana and I'm a product owner at One Trading, a cryptocurrency exchange. I've previously been an intern at AWS, an operator at various European fintechs, as well as a Web3 angel investor. Thinkers Table is a podcast covering all things deep tech, from AI to blockchain to climate tech. Each episode will introduce a new guest covering how they broke into tech, their most recent projects, and some lessons they've learned along the way. So join me and listen if you want to get deep into tech. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thinkers Table. Today we have episode 6. My guest today is Tasha Abigail. She is a current software engineer at Nivo, a SheCodes alumni, and also a tech content creator. It is a pleasure to have you on, Tasha. I'm sure many of the audience may know you from your content creation and may know you from your TikTok. So really appreciate you coming on and really appreciate, I'm sure, the conversation we're about to have, which will be really interesting to talk about how you broke into tech, how you broke into becoming a software engineer, and delving deep into how other people can do the same. So we'll kick it straight off. Now, obviously, I'm sure, especially with content creators, people know the exterior of who you are, people know who you may be, but if you can try, sum yourself up in one sentence, but specifically professionally.
Okay, so I'm Tasha. I'm a young software developer, just navigating the tech world in one sentence. Yeah.
Fair, no, I think that kind of sums it up. That makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of the audience may relate to that even. So cool. And again, with content creators, like I said, you see the exterior bit, you may not get to know the person. So what would you say what sentence would you say would sum yourself up personally?
So I'd say I'm a 24-year-old living in Glasgow, just giving adulting a try. I'm trying to be an adult. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
I think we're all giving adulting a try. I think even by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be giving adulting a try. I can't lie. It's a struggle, but learning curve, I guess. Learning curve. Cool. I guess my last question on getting to know you a little bit more and getting to know who Tasha is. Who is your biggest idol in your life? Can be personal, can be professional, whatever you want.
I can't really say I have an idol. I think I just have a lot of people that I'm inspired by. In terms of tech, I would say the person who inspires me the most is Adama Lona. She's a YouTuber. And then probably in my personal life, my dad. I'm very close with my dad, so yeah.
Nice. That's sweet. That is very nice. Very sweet. And cool. I actually have also seen Adama's videos on TikTok and YouTube. She is really interesting, and I didn't know the world of SRE very well, and I watched some of her videos and really insightful. Obviously working in product, you know what an SRE does, you know who in the team are their SREs, but I don't think you realize how encompassing their role is and how really important it is. But she does really well, I think.
Yeah, she's great. I actually ended up meeting her last month in London.
Oh,
so that was
no way.
She's so nice. So yeah.
Really cool. That's really nice. It's good to hear that the tech content creators are linking up and seeing each other.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of the audience will know, and I guess a lot of people will know that your background is being an alumni at SheCodes, where you kind of got your break into coding. Why don't you just walk us through that story of how you broke into becoming a software engineer, what exactly it was that drove you to do that, and just give us a flavor of, what exactly the process was.
Okay, cool. So the journey kind of started in February 2022. So I had seen adverts about SheCodes, and I was on TikTok one day and I saw this girl in America I think she was a nurse. She was a nurse and she wasn't enjoying her job and she decided to learn how to code and she broke into software development in 6 months. And I was like, whoa, like you don't have to go to uni, you can just like do a course. So I had heard of SheCodes, so I was like, okay, let me just do the free class, like the introductory class. And I did that and I was like, cool, like signed up. I signed up for the SheCodes Plus workshop and just started learning. I learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then I did my final project, which was a weather project, which I think is a very good beginner project because you learn how to use APIs. I did that, and then I was basically finished with a course, and I just still felt like there was like more I could do to get a job. I didn't feel job ready. So I kind of started doing things on my own afterwards. So that was building coding projects. So I actually built a music app, and also, yeah, just like two music apps. Like one was a music game,
Nice.
and one of them was more like kind of like Spotify. And that's
Mhm.
what I did. And then I created a portfolio, and then I just started applying for jobs. So I started applying for jobs in April 2022, so 2 months after the boot camp. The reason I started so early was because I thought it was going to take 6 months to a year to get my first job. So I was like, let me just start the process early. I wasn't expected to get an interview anytime soon. And I just wanted some practice with interviewing. But I ended up getting a job offer 2 weeks later. So that kind of became my story that I did it
Crazy.
in months. Yeah, it's so crazy. And yeah, that's it really. And then I started working June 2022 as a junior software developer. Yeah,
Nice. You said that's it at the end. I was thinking that is pretty. That's a pretty inspirational, like crazy story.
it
That's
is, yeah.
that's quite an achievement for anyone, but especially someone who, like you said, hasn't ever done coding, hasn't ever even looked at like CS or anything really in terms of formal background. To
Mhm.
do that in that short amount of time is pretty commendable. So I think, honestly, that's it is understatement of the
Yeah,
century. But
yeah.
I guess,
Could I say something
yeah,
about I think
yeah, sure.
a lot of the time when people are applying for jobs, they apply for jobs that are out of their league or jobs that are looking for people with years of experience or people with a degree. But I always say to people to look for jobs that want to hire someone who's done a coding bootcamp or are willing to hire or willing to teach someone. So my role was basically to get training on the side and work along senior software engineers, which is why they weren't really looking for me to have any experience. So I was very particular with the kind of jobs that I was applying to, not just every single job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually really good advice. I mean, like I said to you the other day, I am really thinking about doing the Lewagan boot camp. I've
You should.
been luckily offered a scholarship, and it's something that is, really interesting because if you do that boot camp, it really upskills you if
Mhm,
you're working in product, but also aside from that, if you ever wanted to become a dev,
mhm.
um, there are lots of people who are willing to hire. I think we can touch on it later, but with the role of AI, maybe that's getting a little bit harder. But I
Uh,
think, even having some tech experience and going to a boot camp can really like launch your life in a whole other direction, which I'm
yeah,
sure for you it really, really did. So
yeah,
it's cool. It's cool to hear that. I guess, that's like the really surface level story. Why
yeah.
don't you tell us your biggest struggle or some struggles that you went through on the boot camp, some successes, some key moments, and things that you really like learned during the boot camp, either about yourself or about coding, whatever you want to talk about, but just some key moments.
I think it's a different way of learning, like coding. Coding, it doesn't just like you don't learn it overnight type thing. So before that I was studying social anthropology and social policy at uni. So that was more just like reading things and just memorizing things and I guess a bit of critical thinking. And with coding you can't just like go and memorize things and then come back and do a test. You have to really give yourself time. You have to be patient with learning how to code. And I was very
Yeah.
impatient, which is what I learned about myself. I got very
Okay.
frustrated, especially learning JavaScript. It was so frustrating. So that was one thing. But I think what I liked about SheCodes was that there were a lot of coding instructors to give
Hmm.
advice and to help you. But I think I would have liked something like Lawagin in person where you can like ask someone in your class like right next to you, like what do you think? And just kind of problem solve together. But I think learning to problem solve was probably the most challenging part because it's not
Okay.
that easy. Even if you look on Google, you still have to do a lot of thinking yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that was really challenging for me, and But I'm glad I did because I still use those skills now in my job. So yeah.
For sure. No, the threads, when you go through Stack Overflow, some of the threads are actually harder than actually doing the coding, because
Mm,
they're either the problem that someone has put on Stack Overflow is either the wrong problem that you need solved, or it's the
yeah,
other way around, where it's some abstract problem which you never ever need, but it's just there, and yeah, you can't
literally.
do much about it. But I know what you mean about Googling doesn't always make it easier, sometimes can make it harder.
Yeah, but it's all part of like being a software developer. Google all the time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Obviously, like your final project was a weather app, and like you were saying, you got a job really soon after the boot camp.
Mhm.
Um, I guess what would you say would be like some post boot camp strategies? Obviously, you touched on the fact that applying to jobs where people want to hire boot camp graduates or people who are really junior in their
Mhm.
coding skill.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, what do you think it was that got you into Nivo, and what do you think? What advice would you have to people who are coming out of boot camps?
That's a very good question. I think I would like to say that I did very well in my interview. And the reason I think I did well was because I understood the business need. So, like, I read the job description and I understood why they were hiring for that role.
Hmm.
It wasn't just necessarily, I think some people, when they're breaking into tech, they just expect someone to just hire them just for the sake of hiring them. But it is
Yeah,
to me a business need. And I've realized that the longer I've been working in tech, like at the end of the day, we're all really just trying to make money. So how can you help do that? How can you help them achieve that? And some way in the interview, I just really understood what they were trying to do and how I could contribute to that. So I think that's what helped me to do well. So I would say if I could go back, what I would have done with my coding projects was probably actually create a real life product that could actually solve someone's problem. Um,
okay.
for example, like if I have a family friend who's running a cake decorating business or something, and I create a website for them, and that
Hmm.
drives it sales, that's the result, that's the achievement instead of just coding.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think that's what the advice I'd give junior developers. Don't just be there to like take, but also to give. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good advice as well in terms of like you were saying, a lot of the projects like weather apps, calculators, they
Mhm.
are cool and they let you interface with APIs, they let you deal with a lot of back end and front end, but
Yeah,
actually when you think about it, doing like you were saying, solving someone's invoicing
yeah,
or cake decorating business, building them a website, building them like some sort of automation would be so much more useful. And I think it would be a lot easier if you were trying to break into tech to X number of sales from this.
yeah,
So yeah, I completely agree with that advice. I guess coming more onto breaking into being a coder and coding more in generally, you got hired all the way back in 2022. I
mhm,
wouldn't say that was the best time for tech, but not the worst considering the amount of layoffs we've had. Do you think um, it's a good time to get hired in the market, or how would you assess the market for junior developers right now, being one?
mhm. I don't know, I haven't really been seeing many junior roles as much as I used to. Maybe because in 2022 I
Yeah.
was looking out for them, but I have
Hmm.
been seeing more apprenticeship roles, especially like in the finance space. Like I think Lloyd's just
Yeah.
came out with apprenticeships like in data analytics, cybersecurity. So I've seen more of
Nice.
like kind of training on the job type. I really don't know because even with layoffs, I think happen all the time, and I think social media just like
Hmm.
can blow things into out of proportion a lot and make it seem that it's
Yeah.
happening, but more than it make it seem like it's never happened before when it's actually been happening the
Hmm.
whole time. So I
Yeah.
don't really know. Maybe because I haven't really been looking for a job at the moment, but
No,
mm,
fair enough. I think that kind of makes sense. And yeah, I think I've seen a lot less junior dev roles, but I think um, coming on to the next section, I think it's more closely aligned to AI and the role of AI in junior developers. I personally believe that um, as much as I am literally saying I might want to do a boot camp, I might want to
mm,
become a junior dev or something along
mm,
those lines. AI cannot replace a human for sure,
yeah,
but it can definitely do certain things given the right prompts and given the right data, training model, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Obviously, we've seen things like Devon, which is the AI software developer
Mm.
that can like read docs, pull in
Mhm.
the API key, like do a lot of the process.
Mhm.
But also, when you're deploying something into production, you're still going to, even then, will it be able to really find the logic and the problem and do it in the architecture that the business needs, or maybe in the cloud provider the business needs? There are so many nuances to coding that I still think it's too high of a barrier of entry for AI. But I'd love to get your take on it. What do you think about junior developers in AI?
I would say if you're an aspiring junior dev right now, to just kind of see how AI can help you instead of applying to jobs being afraid that AI is going to take your job, to see how you can leverage it to again support the business needs. So that's I would see it as more of a tool instead of
Okay.
like something that's going to replace your job.
Yeah. No,
And
I mean, yeah,
sorry, continue actually.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I think it is a big tool. If you can use it in the right way and prompt it in the right way and with other things. So fair enough. Completely agree. And obviously, when it comes to the differences between using something like ChatGPT or a Devon, what would you say as a junior dev would be more useful? Or what would you say you use more often if you do use them at work?
Um, I've never used Devon before. I think that's pretty recent. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think it's launched yet. I think it's still in like alpha or beta. But it's like, would you rather use an application that's like a code interpreter, like a Copilot,
mhm.
or would you use a more general, like large language model like ChatGPT? Which would you prefer?
Um, Funnily enough, I don't use ChatGPT as much as I used to, but I
Okay.
think sometimes if I really don't understand what a piece of code says, I'll ask ChatGPT what it means and what it's doing. Otherwise, I never ask ChatGPT to write code for me, because I just think
Hmm.
it complicating things because it's just taking things from all over the internet and putting it all into like one line of code, and it's just a bit confusing. But I
Yeah.
don't recommend junior developers learning with AI at first because then you'll just never really understand what you're actually doing and what you're actually coding. And
Yeah.
ChatGPT isn't always correct. But I think Devon would be cool just to see like, okay, how would AI create this and how would I create this? Like just to compare. But I don't know. I've never used it. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. It would be a cool comparison to see the
Mhm.
output of the work. Um, cool. I think we can move away a little bit from coding. We've spoken about it for like almost 17, like 20 minutes now.
Mhm.
Coming a bit more onto you and like recent developments. Obviously, I'm sure some of your fans and audience who may be watching this will know you've recently got your own place and you
Yeah.
moved out, which is very much adulting. So, congrats. A question that I think a lot of people ask, and I mean, I'm going to ask you:
Mhm.
why did you choose to move out? But more specifically, the question I'd love to ask is why now?
That's a good question. I moved out because I just felt like at home I wasn't able to create content as freely as I would like to.
Hmm.
And plus, I just like having my own space. But
Yeah,
it
yeah.
took me a long time to actually decide to move out. So I've been thinking about it for basically a year. And I was kind of stuck
Hmm.
between should I stay home or should I move out? But I'm glad that I waited a couple months first because at home I was able to just like save a lot of money, like which helped me
Hmm.
the moving in
Yeah,
process can be very, very expensive. So I would
yeah.
say like I moved out just to be able to create content more freely. So
Okay. No, I mean, I think I'm sure as many people are watching will know you have quite a big following, and it's really cool to see your growth. I think
mhm.
it's been a really big growth over the last, especially like 6 to 9 months. So
Yeah.
congrats on that. It's good. It's good to always have content creators who can help inspire other people and
Mhm.
teach them about things like breaking into coding. On the lines of why you moved out and why now, do you think moving out's a financial burden? Like you were saying, you were able to save money at home and quite
Yeah.
significantly, I'm sure, save money at home. Or do you think that like value add of being able to make more content and be more productive and whatever other benefits you find is enough for you to justify the cost?
Yeah, so I think it could have been a financial burden if I because it was a calculated move. It wasn't just something
Mhm.
I just decided out of nowhere. I
Yeah.
think it would be a financial burden if I just decided to just randomly move out with only 1 month's rent saved up. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But just
Yeah.
because the moving in process is so expensive, I didn't think I
Yeah.
realized how expensive it actually was.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was financially ready for it. So it hasn't really felt like a burden yet. And I think it has unlocked a lot because I've been more productive at home,
Nice.
in my own space. Also, it means I can create different types of content as well, not just
Mhm.
coding stuff, but even like home content. And it's
Mhm.
actually a lot of brands have reached out since I've moved out as well. So
Oh,
that's kind
nice.
of opportunities. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I did it. So like I think it's gonna take a couple of months for me to see the fruit from it. But I think
Mhm.
like yeah, it was a calculated risk and it's gonna pay off in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think as someone who's lived out for uni and someone who's been home since I've been working in London, there is a really vast difference in your mindset. And obviously, like, it's very cringy, but the classic saying is the five people around you
Mhm.
mirror your attitude and behavior the most. And obviously, I'm sure you will echo the same thing. Our parents are amazing. They've, brought us up, given us everything.
Mhm.
But you're in very different stages of life. When you're 20, you're really trying to go hard, grind
Mhm.
all day, do everything all at once. And when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you're very much not in that. You're very much in your
Yeah.
chill, retired, just want to take life peacefully. So
Yeah.
it makes complete sense as to why it comes about. And I agree with you. And I see that, especially from when I was back at uni and living out of the
Mhm.
house, or even when I go to London and like stay somewhere, it's
Yeah.
much more productive. So
Yeah, for sure.
fair enough. Completely get that. You kind of touched on it, but it'd be interesting to dive a little bit more into it.
Mhm.
So on the financial side, obviously, it's really important to save. Like you're saying, can't just move out with 1 month's rent to have to hand.
Yeah.
There is this kind of way up that you have in tech, at least, but I think really specifically tech. But you have it, I think, across all kind of industries of the
Mhm.
classic like side hustle
Mhm.
versus like startup mentality, which is one is like 7 to 10 years of extremely long hard work, and one is like generating cash flow really quickly,
Mhm.
and it brings you your fruits of the labor very quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think you value more out of the two, and why?
Side hustles. I just think I don't think everyone was meant to be an entrepreneur or a startup founder. I just for me it just makes more sense to have a 9 to 5 job with steady income on the side. And I think if you're young, and especially if you're not married or if you don't have any kids, like um you can do your job and also build your side hustles at the side too.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So like I don't
Yeah,
unless you really want to like build a startup on the side.
yeah,
But I think side hustle just makes more sense because the money that you're getting, you can start investing it earlier on. And who invests will tell you that it's not really necessarily how much money you invest, but like how long you invest for, right? So
yeah,
it
for
just makes more sense if you're just having little bits of income coming in and you're just investing it as you go along.
yeah, for sure. Um, I guess, I mean, yeah, I agree in the sense that I think not everyone should be a startup founder, or not everyone wants to be for sure.
Hmm.
And I definitely agree that you have to really want to do something or solve a real problem to build the startup. And cash flow is obviously way better when you're younger. And like you were saying, you can invest that money or put it into real estate, whatever you want to do with it, right?
Yeah.
I guess as a content creator, you obviously are receiving brand deals, and I know you're a SheCodes affiliate, and you've raised over $50,000 for them, and you obviously have digital products running alongside that.
Hmm.
So, do you think content creation could ever be a full time type of thing for you, or do you think, like you were saying, it's where you have several streams of income and you just maintain them and grow them?
I think it could turn into a full-time income, but I don't think I would leave my 9 to 5. Well, definitely not now, not anytime soon. Um,
Yeah,
Again, I just like the steady income, do you know what I mean? Because even with the
yeah,
brand deals, like yes, like it's amazing. But for example, I'm not gonna say which brand it was, but I did have a brand that took 4 months to pay me. So like you can't rely on the brand deals. Just like a
Damn.
bit of nice. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And there's even one that's still like been waiting for a couple months as well. So like
Oof.
brand deals, like yes, they're nice. It's a lot of money when it comes through, but it's not reliable enough to survive on. But I think
Yeah.
I could create a full time income with it on the side with my 9 to 5. But
Yeah.
I think I would really have to work hard and really focus on that. And that's
Hmm.
one of the reasons I did move out because I thought if I can create more content at home, I could definitely like even one of my
Yeah.
goals is to reach 10K a month. It sounds impossible, but I've seen people do it.
No,
Do you know
I
what I mean?
think it's very
So
achievable. It's very
yeah.
achievable. And look, I think obviously the big marker of everything is at 100K, and you're very close to that. So
Mhm.
I think once you get to that mark, is I actually personally know two people who are
Mhm.
creators in London who are on 98K and one's on 102, and they got a brand deal from the same company, and the
Really?
difference between both of them was
Mhm.
over £5,000, and that's purely because it was 102
Really?
versus like 98,000 followers, which is a
Wow.
mind blowing, but
Mhm.
it's such a big milestone to hit. And I think
Mhm.
once you get to that milestone, it's really easy. But also on your topic of like late payments or like taking ages to
Mhm.
pay, I have a friend who's an actor and is also in a very similar situation where
Really?
the invoices take a really long time to basically pay you back.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anyone's watching this, if anyone's interested in the creating or creator space, and you want to maybe have a coding project, a
Mhm.
great coding project or product in general is to build I don't know, a template builder or some sort of finance company that takes and charges interest on
Oh,
brand deals, acting
that's
deals. Any people who take longer than like 3 months to pay them, they just
yeah.
getting charged interest basically once they don't do that. And
Mhm.
like have a Glassdoor system where people can leave reviews. If a
Mhm.
brand is taking 6 months to pay you, they deserve 0 stars on the payment, at
That's
least rating. So yeah.
that's really good.
Um, yeah, if anyone wants to build the product, go ahead. I think a lot of people would be willing to use that.
That would make so much money.
I think we kind of touched on it again, but personal finance is obviously really big for you, and I think it is really important. It should be more important for everyone, and I think it's a theme in your content that I've been seeing a little bit more recently and been enjoying actually quite a lot.
Mhm.
So, if you really had to boil it down, and I think it's hard, and I think there's lots of ways you can go, but if you had to boil it down to three key pillars of
Mhm.
personal finance for yourself, what would you say those three are? And yeah, just talk us through them.
I actually did have a little think about this. The first one would be to create a habit of saving. So even if it's just like an amount that you wouldn't notice coming out of your account. So even if it's £50 a month, just saving that because sometimes it feels like, oh, what's the point in saving £50 a month because that's just a small amount. But it's not necessarily about the amount, it's the habit. So when you do
Mhm.
get more money, it's easier to save a bit more. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
kind of
Would
what
you do it? Would you do it as a percentage, or would you do it as a number, like £50, or would you
I
do
do
it as 10%? How would you do it?
I do it
Okay.
as well. So for me, really struggled with saving like for a very long time. Probably up until like last year, like I was terrible
Okay.
at saving. So I just started with £100 a month, and
Fine.
it was manageable. And after 6 months, I was able to save £500 a month easily, and that's
Yeah.
why I was able to move out because I just got into that habit of saving. So that would be like number one, like just creating a habit of saving. Number
Yeah.
two was making it very difficult to access the money. So,
Okay.
you know that I don't know if you use Monzo, but
I
Monzo
do
have
use
saving pots.
pots.
It's so easy to
Yeah.
just so I make it very hard for me to touch your money. If I say if this money is not for spending, I will put it into a notice account. So you can get notice accounts on Moneybox. You can do like
Okay.
35 days or 90-day notice accounts. And then that's for like small amounts. But if you want to save like a
Mhm.
big amount, you can do a fixed term. Ones will do that and you can put minimum £500. So that way it's like you can't touch that money at all. Because I know if
Yeah.
kept the £500 in my account, I would have spent it on something silly. Do you know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
the second thing, making it very difficult to withdraw your savings, almost impossible to withdraw your savings, and also being realistic. Because one thing was that I was very unrealistic. I would tell myself, okay, I want to save £10,000 in 10 months. All I have to do is save £1,000 a month, and it would just
Yeah.
never work. Like it literally just never works because it's unrealistic. So if you're spending £1,000 every month and the next month you decide that, oh, I want to save £800 a month and live off 200, it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it kind of goes back to the first point of a small amount that you wouldn't really notice. So yeah, so first
Mhm.
thing, creating a habit, making it hard to withdraw, and being realistic. That's what I'd say.
Okay. I think those are three good ones. I would also say on the making it hard to withdraw.
Mhm.
Obviously, the hardest thing to withdraw is an ISA. So if you
Mhm.
ever really want to lock your money up for a very long time and never see it, I
Mhm.
think an ISA would also be a very similar, suitable suggestion. But okay,
Next.
cool. Yeah, I think that is pretty comprehensive. You obviously mentioned Moneybox there,
Mhm.
and Monzo and a few other tools and apps. What would you say is the best or your favorite app, tool, bank, account? Also,
Mhm.
this is not financial advice. Everyone go do your own research. But out of those three, what would you say is the most important or your favorite that you like?
My favorite out of all of them has to probably be the ones with fixed terms because I think that's what changed my finances for the better. Once I could lock
Nice.
away that amount of money, it just
Yeah,
changed the game for me. But also, there's this other one. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Lockbox. I don't know if you've heard.
Lockbox. Yeah, yeah. I think I saw your video on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is where I started saving the £100 a month, and you
Okay.
touch that money for a year. So it's just a direct debit coming
Wow.
out of your paycheck every single month. And so I never really noticed it. So that ended up being a year last month for me. So I got like 1,200 from it, which really helped me with
Nice.
moving out. My only
Yeah.
thing about that I didn't like was that there's no interest on it. So it didn't have any interest. But I think
Yeah.
it really helped me just get into the habit of saving because it's very easy to just like spend £100. It's so
Yeah.
easy. So
Especially, I know obviously you travel to like Manchester and London for like events and coding and whatever.
yeah.
If you step foot in London on a
Mm.
weekend
Oh
and you
yeah.
don't spend at least £100,
Mm.
it's like a miracle. Like
It
you
is.
you go and eat food, £25. You eat
Yeah.
dinner, £30. That's £50 gone already, and you're not thinking about shopping. Like
Mhm.
the tube itself costs like 15, £20, and it adds up. I think for sure.
It does add up. Yeah. Because one time I went to London to see my friend. I flew there, and as soon as I stepped off, I already spent £60. Landed
Ooh,
to the
damn.
city. I don't know how it happened. Like London is so crazy.
Yeah, London is. I do understand why people leave London, and I understand why they're going and leaving London more and more because, yeah, wow. Obviously, people get paid, I think, a little bit better than elsewhere, but I also know, I mean, it's very specific to my industry, but in crypto, a lot of the projects and businesses are very worldwide.
Mhm.
Um, they're literally spread across all four continents, and because of that, yeah, a lot of them allow remote work or even working worldwide. So you can
Mhm.
speak to a developer and they can be in Mexico or they can be
Oh,
in
that's sick.
Colombia or they can be in Singapore. They can literally be anywhere. So I think there's a lot of digital nomads who come out of crypto or who are working in crypto.
Yeah.
So it's actually a cool thing to do. I guess on the
Mhm.
topic of digital nomads working abroad, do you prefer working abroad in Glasgow, in other cities, remotely in the office, and out of those, like, what's your why? Why do you like that?
So I think I prefer just working from home, whatever home looks like, whether that's here in Glasgow at a friend's house or in
Hmm.
an Airbnb. I do just prefer working from home. And I think a lot of people think that I became a software developer just to work abroad, but it's more to have the option to work abroad. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example,
Yeah.
I went home but I'm from Malawi, and I went home and I was able to work while I was out there. So I didn't have to like take off like a month off work. So I just worked
Yeah.
for 2 weeks while I was there. So just having that option is why I like remote work. But I also do like being in the office and like co-working
Yeah.
spaces too. So yeah.
Yeah. Co-working spaces I think are cool. But if it wasn't rainy season, oh, that would have been so good. The weather would have been like unreal to go.
Yeah.
Nice. I can imagine only how nice that is. I guess on the topic of living in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
if you were ever or to as in leave as in completely move,
Mm-hmm.
where would you go?
Cape Town. Yeah, like I went there, was that October? I went there in October and I loved it. It's just perfect. Like
Yeah.
perfect weather, beautiful place, like it's so nice. But I don't have
Yeah.
anything there. Like there's nothing that would keep me there. But if I had the option to leave, that's where I'd go.
I heard they have a wagon there. So I mean, no, I'm joking, but yeah, it is a really cool place. I have a lot of friends who have gone traveling after university graduate, like after graduating, and only a few have gone to South Africa. A lot have gone to Southeast Asia or South America, but the ones who have gone to South Africa, have really, really loved it.
Mhm.
And Cape Town, they say, is like a really cool place, really happening, like good vibes. So
Mm,
yeah, makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, Cape Town's cool. Where would you
Cool.
go?
Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Where would you go if you could leave the
So I have a little like not plan, but I think like ideal life, which
Mhm,
is summer in London, winter, spring ish, or like sorry, autumn to spring is kind of fluid. So like it could be Europe, it could be wherever,
mhm.
but autumn and spring are interchangeable. So I think like Asia or Europe, and then winter, Middle East, and then just repeat that cycle. I think that would be like a nice way to live. As you can tell, I'm not a big homebody. I don't like staying put.
Mhm,
So yeah, I think being able to also, it depends on your job. If you're a startup founder, you have the luxury that you can go anywhere. If
mhm.
you're not, and maybe you have a 9 to 5 or a job that isn't remote, you would be obviously bound
Yeah.
to be in that city. Um, but I have actually found more recently that a lot of companies that at least my friends work at are really keen to, if they want to move, they can take them there or sponsor them as long as they obviously perform really well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think living in multiple cities and multiple countries, I think is kind of the ideal situation. But
That's
also,
cool.
yeah, it's going to be quite hectic and chaotic. And I think once you have a family and kids, you're going to have to not do that. But as in,
Yeah,
definitely for the next like decade or so, easily can do that.
yeah, for sure.
I guess also coming a little bit more onto getting to know you very personally and your content. You're a very devout, practicing Christian, and you make a lot of content on that. And obviously, we live in a country that is predominantly Christian, but we have a lot of non-practicing Christians or
Yeah.
people who
Mm.
may not adopt the values of Christianity per
Mhm.
se. Why would you say you are a practicing Christian?
Good question. So I grew up in a Christian family. My dad
Mhm.
is a pastor, and my mom is a
Nice.
worship leader. So like everything I know is, I don't think you
Yeah.
can get more Christian than that.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So everything I've known has been Christian, but I think for me it was during school where it just became a bit more real to me and just like including God into everything I do, even with my job, like getting my job. Um, it seemed impossible to get a job as a software developer with no experience,
Mhm.
no degree in 3 months. But I believe that the Bible says all things are possible with God, which is, I think is the only way I could do it was because of Him. And even with
Yep.
my content creation, to because I got 10,000 followers within 1 month, and I
Wow.
don't think that's normal. I think that's God as well, and just everything. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's why I put it in my content because I believe that He's blessed me with everything that I have. So yeah.
Nice. No, I think that's a really sweet message. And yeah, I think a lot of people will relate to that. And I think religion is a very important thing. If you obviously believe in it and you can
Mhm.
practice it, and it's something that you really want in your life,
Yeah.
I think is a really positive force and can, heal the spirit and also just drive you through life really well. So it's a good
Yeah.
message. Going straight back onto the opposite topic, which is tech, coming straight back onto it.
Yeah.
I usually do a quick fire round earlier in the episode, but I left it towards the end because I think we had a good conversation. It's a very quick 2 minute session. You can just answer really shortly, nothing. You don't need to put much detail.
Yeah.
Question one: what's the most expensive piece of tech you own?
My MacBook.
Everyone says Mac. I think this is because Apple charged too much for their Macs
Yeah.
because the last three, I'm not even joking, the last three guests all said Mac.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an expensive piece of tech, but it's a good piece of tech. So fair.
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of going to be an obvious question or obvious answer, sorry, but what's your most used social media app?
TikTok.
Yeah, makes sense. How long would you say you spend on that to a
But,
day?
probably 5 hours a day. That's terrible, isn't
Okay.
it? And
No,
I
I mean, listen, it is everyone has a 5 to 9. If your 5 to 9 is TikTok, it is your 5 to 9, that is your content creation. So makes sense. Fair enough. If you have one, you may not have one. What's your 2024 tech prediction?
ooh, this might be controversial, but I
Okay.
feel like AI is gonna fall off a little bit.
Do you know what? I wouldn't disagree in the sense I think the hype and the boom will die down because I think people it's actually very similar to what happened to crypto in the build up to 2021 and
Mhm.
everything that happened with FTX and Luna. Like Bitcoin hit all time high, everything was going super well. It got 6,000, and then two events, one after the other. Literally, Bitcoin went to $16,000 all the way from 66. So
Mhm.
um, I think everything, even like big tech back in the 2000s, you had the dot-com crash in
Yeah.
2000. So I think everything goes through cycles. Everything goes through really good periods. Everything goes through really bad. So I think, yeah, you could be very correct that maybe the hype will die down and
Yeah.
AI needs to prove that it's a solid application or it has some thing to it rather than just hype.
Yeah, one of the reasons I say that is because I feel like I get put off when something has AI in it. I don't know how to explain. Maybe I find it a bit cringe at this point. Like, even if I get a lot of AI companies reaching out for brand deals, and I always say no. Like, I don't know why. It just feels a bit cringy to me now. But maybe that's just me personally. But I don't know. We'll see.
No, I think the thing that happened was that when OpenAI released ChatGPT, um, it allowed basically everyone to build the application layer on top of it.
Hmm.
And because they allowed that, you
Hmm.
have I'm sure a lot of the companies that are referencing or to do with uni, some
Yeah.
are to do with I don't know, language learning. There are so many, but a
Mm.
lot of them are applications that are built or they're ChatGPT wrappers essentially
Yeah.
or OpenAI wrappers. And because of that, it's really easy to replicate it. Like me and you right now, if we sat together for a few hours, we could build one that has the same like a great landing page and is a wrapper because you're just using the OpenAI API.
Mhm.
It's not like the most difficult thing. I think generative AI, if applied in enterprise and if applied in the right setting, can
Mhm.
really change a business entirely.
Yeah.
Um, but like we were saying, it needs to really it's already found its use case, but it really needs to have that large scale impact that it's had on a person to person basis on a
Mhm.
large scale format. But it is transformative tech. It's definitely going to change the
Yeah.
world. So
It will.
even if it does go through a bad cycle, it's definitely going to go.
I think it will
Um,
definitely come back at some
yeah.
point.
Oh, yeah. Easily, I think. Cool. I think we'll end it on this section, and we'll just talk about it really quickly. Obviously, previous to being a software engineer, you spoke about how you were studying social sciences. I think it was what you were the course was called. And you had no formal experience in being a computer science,
Mhm.
student or anything like that. What do you think the biggest challenge or the mindset shift is from being like a completely non-technical not even like I'm in product, so I had experience with engineers, so I kind
Yeah,
of have some understanding. From going from literally 0 to 1, what do you think is that biggest challenge or the mindset shift that you needed?
I think it's moving on from just studying theory to just doing work. Because I get a lot of people in my comments saying, like, oh, how did you memorize all of this? Like, people think it's something that requires theory, studying, and like memorizing, but it's not. Like, it just requires doing. It's very practical. So I
Yeah.
think just shifting your mindset from like I have to remember all of this just to just
Mm.
practice. It's a practical thing. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's good advice. And yeah, it happens a lot when people are like, "Oh, I can't remember the syntax. I'm gonna forget the semicolon." It's
Yeah.
fine. As if you write like
Mhm,
5 files which have 100 lines, I promise you, after 500 lines of code, you will remember
mhm.
JavaScript has a semicolon, and the small things that you may need, you will
Yeah,
remember it because you're gonna force yourself to remember it because you're just doing it all the time.
literally, yeah.
So completely agree. Um, I guess on a similar line, for non-coders or non-technical individuals, what do you think is the most important thing to do if they're interested in getting into tech?
Again, same thing, practice. Just
Yeah,
practice. Also, find real life projects, even if it's freelancing. Freelancing counts as experience too. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
for
that's
sure. And even there's these, I really forget the name of it, and it's going to be really annoying. But there's a website where you can code for charities and foundations.
that's so cool.
I think it's called Code for Good, but don't quote me on that, or maybe Foundation for Code or something like that. But
Mhm,
you can, if you like have any coding skills or you just want to practice them, you
mhm.
can help out these charities in coding
Wow,
for them. And I
so
mean, you're giving to a great cause and you're deploying things in production, so
mhm.
it's a win-win for both well,
Oh,
everyone really, the world.
I have to share that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. That was all of my questions that I had. I think that was a really nice note to end it on, in the sense that coding and breaking into tech is not about fancy titles, it's not about fancy degrees. It is really simply about practice, it's about hard work, and
Mhm.
it's just about your passion for learning.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tash, for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I hope the audience enjoyed, and tune in. I will be posting some clips across social media of specific sections of this episode. And yeah, we will hopefully see you shortly for the next episode. And yeah, really appreciate your time, Tasha, and hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.